So please welcome Terry. She's going to take it away and take you through the session. Give her a big hand.
Thank you. Thank you, Coloplast UK. Yeah. Okay. Firstly, I'd just like to say this is a huge privilege for us. It's rare that you're going to find ostomists that are prepared to work with us to share their expertise in managing complex situations in such an exposed and open way. So to actually allow us to work with them now, to actually do a pouch change with them in front of so many people. So I'd like to start off by saying, you know, it really is a privilege to be able to work with Steve and a bit later on this afternoon with Rachel. So today very much is around learning from experienced ostomists how they manage their complicated stomal situation. Because although we might know the theoretical knowledge, they are the hands-on clinical expert in managing these situations. So we're going to very much learn from them as to how we can best support patients in the future. So I'd like to welcome to the stage the second member of Team Awesome, Steve. And you will have met Steve yesterday.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so we're just going to have a chat with Steve first, because although the title of this masterclass is Complicated Stomas, actually, it's not a complicated stoma. This is a human being. This is Steve with a life, with things that he wants to achieve and activities that he wants to do. So I think it's really important that actually, although he has a complicated stoma, we're going to learn about what matters to him and how we can ensure that he can live the life he wants to lead with his outward body shape. So we have a little introduction to Steve. So I first met Steve a few weeks ago at the internal Coloplast UK launch of Concave. And I have to say, he really, really resonated with me when he was telling his story. And I learnt a huge amount from him. And I think it's really important that we understand that Steve's a dad. He's got 3 boys. He's got a wicked sense of humour, and he likes really quirky things, which maybe is why he's up on the stage now, exposing himself to the scrutiny of so many people. But also, he loves to go to the gym. And all of these things are not unnecessary information. These are all really important things that we need to bear in mind. Isn't that right, Steve?
Absolutely.
You're an individual.
Yeah.
You might be complicated, but you're an individual.
Without a doubt.
Okay, so when Steve first presented, if you like, to either me in my stoma care clinic or to Coloplast as part of the trial, he had a medical history. So Steve, tell us a little bit about what had happened to you.
Well, I got colitis in 2008, and it just progressively got worse. It was controlled by drugs for about 6-7 years.
And then the drugs didn't work.
They just started. They tried me on biological, and it didn't touch. It just, the last 2 years really sort of went full on. And I was kind of bleeding. I was bleeding a lot. I was going to the toilet 30 times a day plus, and during the night. So I just felt awful.
And were you able to work at that stage, Steve?
Oh yeah, I didn't start work.
You didn't start work? How on earth did you manage?
The thing is, it's, you know, the poo taboo, it's always been there, and you know, everyone's trying to sort of raise awareness, but you don't necessarily tell your gaffer. If you broke your leg, it's clear to see.
For those, gaffer is the boss, a colloquial English word for the boss. So Steve didn't want to tell his boss what was happening to him. You can understand that.
Yeah, and you know, you're disappearing off to the toilet. Ultimately, you're thinking that people are thinking you're either lazy or, you know, what's he up to, but you kind of keep it a secret. I knew it weren't the norm, But you know, most blokes they go to the doctor the last course. You know, when things get too much.
Okay, so, but at some point, a couple of years ago, it got to the point where the surgeon said to you, you need to have surgery.
Yeah, well, I was at work and I'd lost loads of blood, and I just felt awful. You know, and I couldn't go on like that. I was visiting the toilet 30+ times, and it was too much. I felt upset. I'd never been like that. You kind of get used to feeling poorly, but it got to a point where there was something had to be done.
Okay. So in 2015, Steve had a total colectomy and formation of ileostomy.
It was actually a subtotal colectomy.
Subtotal colectomy. Okay, subtotal colectomy. I stand corrected. The expert patient. Yeah. So, subtotal colectomy, formation of ileostomy.
Yeah.
What was life like then?
Well, straight after my op, once I started to heal, I obviously had pain from the operation, but you know that was controlled with morphine and various painkillers. But I felt awesome. Okay. I felt well again, and you know when you've felt poorly for so long, it kind of becomes the norm. So to feel well again, you know, I was going to work and people were like, you know, why are you so cheerful? It's Monday morning. But I permanently had a smile on my face because I was well again.
But then you explained to us yesterday you had an episode where your ileostomy became obstructed and then the blockage cleared, but you felt this kind of tearing sensation, yeah. And from then on you developed a hernia which increased in size. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the hernia then changed how you were managing life with an ileostomy, didn't it? What problems did the hernia cause you?
Well, my first problem was the visual look of it. I didn't like looking down. I could kind of see my left foot, and I could only see like 2 inches of the front of my right foot.
So you were very aware of the change in your shape.
So that was a visual psychological issue for me. But then, you know, as it started to grow, I was really experiencing difficulties with bags. I've had difficulties with bags before, with the glues not sticking, with allergies, but this was, the leaks were getting more often. The bags weren't sticking properly.
And when you say the bags were leaking because of the change in shape, was that because the adhesive was coming away from the centre around the stoma, or was it peeling up from the bottom because of the shape?
Well, thinking about it now, it must have been from the centre because that's where it moves down, because they were always from the channels. Yeah. I was always losing from channels, never so much from the top, but underneath.
Underneath, and it would go down, leak downwards, or at night potentially it would leak from the side?
Well, 9 times out of 10 it was either up to the left, or it was always on the left hand, but down and to the left. It was never from the right.
Okay. So we heard yesterday when we were being told about the adhesive technology in products versus the new Concave product, about the ability of standard adhesives to actually move up and down during the course of a day when the shape of Steve's hernia would have changed significantly. Okay, so life, what did it mean for you? Obviously it was inconvenient, you were changing your pouch, but how did it actually make you feel?
It was more psychological. The thought of having a leak was almost, well, it was just as bad as having a leak. Because I was taking...
Fear?
Yeah, absolutely. I was taking spare clothes with me wherever I went. So I always had to carry a bag. Always had a bag change on me. Wouldn't wear white. I couldn't wear white, anything white, just in case. You know, and even if I was nowhere near having a leak, I was always thinking that one was going to happen.
Okay.
So it kind of really affected me psychologically, a big deal.
Okay, so we heard yesterday that you had the opportunity to be part of the trial and development of the new prototype Concave, and I know at the moment that you're wearing a Concave product. Would it be okay, could we look with you lying down at your abdominal contours now with the pouch on, and then could we look at actually, for us as stoma care nurses, this pouch with its shape and its concave nature we are not as experienced as you as how to, A, take it off, but also how to put it on. So I think it would be really good if we could first of all look at you lying down and look at the abdomen, and then we'll go from there and we'll actually do a pouch change.
Yeah, no problem.
Is that okay? Perfect.
Right.
Okay. So we're a bit on it. Steve, cameraman's there. Smile. Okay. So is it okay? May I lift your t-shirt up? Okay. So, what do we notice looking at Steve's abdomen when we first examine? Obviously, we can see his laparotomy incision. We can see that there is more of a pronounced bulge on the left side, the right side of his abdomen than there is on the left, but it's not particularly pronounced. But I presume that when we ask Steve to stand up, actually his abdominal contours will change significantly. And you're wearing, I'm going to be a good nurse, going to take my watch off, bare below the elbows, no rings, no jewelry. I have, of course, just washed my hands. I have my apron. So, Steve, you're wearing a one-piece pouch, and I can see you like to fold the clip right up. You like to make the pouch very small and discreet. Okay. So, Steve, could you turn around now and sit on the edge of the bed for us so that we can see how your abdominal contours change? Okay, so I don't know if you can see from this side, but there's a significant change already in the shape of his abdomen now that he's sat up. So on the right side, the hernia is larger than it was when he was lying flat. Could you stand up for me, Steve? Okay. So can you see much more pronounced the hernia now than when he was lying flat, which really reinforces the information we had yesterday about this increased movement for people with outward body shapes, which causes the challenge for flat products. Okay, Steve, so if you were at home now, and this is pouch change day, would you normally change your pouch standing up like this, or would you do it lying down? Yep,
I would always stand up. The mirror would be here, and all my stuff would be in front of you.
Okay. So, Steve, what we're going to do is we're going to pretend you're at home in your own bathroom, and I don't know. Would you like to pop this in the belt of your trousers to protect your? No, it's a man thing. Okay, fair enough. Don't say I didn't offer. Okay. So normally. Normally, you would remove the pouch. So I'm going to have some wipes ready for you, because obviously they would be kind of closer to you. In fact, I can put everything here on the bed. So normally you would peel the pouch off, and then we will clean the skin area. So would you like to start and show us how with Concave? So do you want the adhesive spray?
Need some water.
And water.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I'd rather have it all in front.
Okay, you're the boss. You are the boss. Just a small bowl of water. But I'm informed this is a Danish designed washer. It's nice, isn't it?
Okay, should I get going?
Yeah, yep. So, Steve obviously is hairy. Steve, do you shave your abdomen?
No, it kind of doesn't grow anymore there. I think that's the evolution of wearing
Oh, okay, it's a bit like regular waxing. It doesn't grow. Okay. Okay, fair enough. So you use adhesive remover.
Yeah.
Okay, so you spray at the top, peel down. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, so if I can, I'm just going to be a nurses, we look at adhesive. I'm just going to put that on there. So, Steve, how long has this pouch been on?
About an hour.
Oh.
No.
Okay, cool. Well, then
So
we
I've
won't
had
look
nothing.
to see if there's been any erosion of the adhesive or anything. Cool, it's in the bag. Okay, so you clean round. You don't use anything. Your routine is pure, just warm water.
If my bag's been on a couple of days, then there'll be quite a bit of sticky residue from the base plate. So I'd give it another spray.
Okay.
That would get that straight off.
Okay.
Just literally clean around.
Okay. And your stoma does change in size from a daily basis, doesn't it?
It does.
Depending on
It
your
kind of
hernia.
like comes out and goes in.
Okay.
It kind of stays the same diameter.
Okay, but it can So Steve has chosen to use a starter hole product, and he measures and cuts to size each time because of the change in the diameter, and that's something quite often patients with hernias will explain, that often the base of the stoma, if they're changing later in the day, is stretched and larger than it would be first thing in the morning. So often a starter hole size appliance might be the best alternative, and certainly it's something that Steve prefers to have. Okay, so what would we do now, Steve?
Right, dry the area off.
Okay.
Thank you. See, normally I would cut my bag
You do it before. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not a problem.
Right, well, so we're going to use the measuring guide. That's too large. That is... Ta-da. So it's about a couple of millimeters larger than this size. So you normally just look at it. Do you draw the pencil line, or you've got your eye in and you just cut with the scissors? So how about, Steve, I'm going to hold a protective piece of gauze over your stoma, and actually would you show us how, given the slightly different shape of the base plate, let's see how Steve cuts out the shape.
Okay.
I'm in charge.
See, I'll be going to the 30, just inside the 30 line I would.
Okay. Perfect. Can tell you've done this before. Your hand's steadier than mine is.
I'm an arts and craft sort of person I am.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
Cool. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to explain, as was discussed with us earlier, there's a range of concave base plate sizes, and I'm sure you've been out onto the exhibition. Would you hold that bit for me? And you've seen that there's a tool to enable you to actually measure the size of the hernia or outward body shape. But our advice is always, actually, your first indicator of what you should pick is actually the diameter of the stoma. So if you have a stoma that's 25 millimeters, you do not want to use one of the larger flanges with the cutting size much, much larger. So pick the right flange for the size of the stoma first. Steve is using... This is the
MIDI, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the size of the flange. But actually, when I was looking at Steve's stoma, actually the next size up, base plate, also would very easily cover his hernia bulge. But we would always say, go, if you're in doubt and there's two sizes you can use, always go the smaller size first. Okay, always try the smaller base plate size first. Okay, Steve. So now we heard yesterday about fit to flip, because you explained very succinctly when they arrived, you actually thought, because they come in the box like this, that actually it was wrong?
I thought it was convex, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So explain to us how this works to enable you to put it on.
Right, and now I've read the instructions.
Forget the instructions, what do you do?
What do I do? Now, I literally keep it in that shape. I peel it off, I hold it in the top. I peel it off so that it stays in that shape. It's a very sticky one.
Especially for the occasion.
So that it stays in exactly that shape.
Okay. And then very slowly, and I don't know, I'm sure I'll get out of the way. I don't want to be in the way of the film, but you show it. So you hold.
I push the finger in so I've got a hole.
Okay.
I go underneath.
Yeah. And you can see it because it's shaped outwards. You can see
that the bottom's not touching any of my stoma.
Yep.
I pull over.
Yep.
So that all my stoma is actually in.
Yep.
And flip.
And you literally just push.
Now the only bit that's not sticking it at the minute is the top bit, which I literally do that.
Put down.
See, with every other bag, I've had to check. It's quite difficult with a hernia.
But immediately, if we can see immediately, this is holding in place. So he hasn't had to try and straighten out any creases, stretch it over the bulge, because actually it's shaped to do that.
And this is just a habit. This is 10 seconds of heat from my hand.
But we also learnt yesterday about the importance of ensuring that around the stability ring was securely onto the skin. And you can feel the stability ring. So when you run your fingers around, you actually have that ring to guide you, just to make sure that that inner area is securely down on the skin. So that's a really good top tip for your ostomists, for them just with their finger to follow the stability ring, which you can feel quite differently to the rest of the adhesive.
Yeah. Then I'd squeeze any air out, and fold up and tuck away.
Okay. So Steve, you talked to me originally at our internal launch, something that you said, and it gives me goosebumps. There's two things that you said that still give me goosebumps when I think back on them. The first thing that you said was that immediately you put it on, you felt like the fingers were holding the hernia. Is that true? You feel that it's holding and supporting?
It's a confidence thing. It grips. It's kind of like once it's on, you don't actually feel like there's nothing on. There's no. It's difficult to say. It's not just the glue that's holding on. It's the angle in which it's the curvature that clings.
Okay.
So even if there was no glue, it would hold on for a certain amount of time.
Just the shape?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the shape makes a difference to how it feels
it's like
for you.
doubling up on the glue, because I mean the glue is there to stick, but you could literally walk around without the glue.
Yeah, we're not advertising. Yeah. Okay, we'll move. Okay, so that's perfect. So your routine, your pouch change routine now, takes 15 minutes maximum.
It takes about 3 minutes, to be fair.
Oh, okay, when you're being the mattress off. Yeah. Okay. The one thing I would say, with my Stomacare nurse hat on, I would recommend that you shave the skin around your stoma, because you do have quite a lot of hair there, and you are at risk of getting some little folliculitis. So, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't. Yeah, you with me on that? You have a global consensus. Shave. No. But now the debate. How often would we recommend that Steve shaved his abdomen? Would we recommend you don't change your pouch every day. So would we say every 3 days, every 7 days? What would we tell him? Give me some advice. What am I going to tell him? Every 3 days or every 7 days?
That's a no then.
No, it's not a no, Steve. 7 days? A week? A week, once a week? Shave once a week.
But if you notice, though, there wasn't that many hairs.
Oh, no, there were. No, Steve. No, really, there were. There's more hairs on here.
Fair enough.
Okay. Now, first of all, thank you, because that, pardon the pun, but that takes a lot of guts to do that in an audience like that. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
No way.
Okay, we're done now. You can
Okay,
come.
thank you.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I'm going all red now.
You're going all red? Thank you. Okay, cool. Now, Paul, how are you now, Steve? This is what I'm interested in, because this isn't a complex stoma. This is Steve. So, obviously, the product is sticking securely around his outward body shape. That's a big tick in the box, great. But is it making a difference to his life? Is it making a difference to Steve? As a stoma care nurse and a stoma care, that's what you're interested in. It's fantastic that it's actually doing what it's meant to do. It's fantastic that it's so easy for Steve to use. But actually, is life different for you now?
Yeah, of course it is. I think I've made that quite clear, to be fair, over the last day or so. You know, it's just, it's confidence. You know, it fits me perfectly. I've tried that many bags. I really have gone through them all. You know, and I've done full circle from everything, you know, and back to the Mio.
Yeah.
And this bag couldn't have come at a better time for me, because I was really starting to get down. I'd built up my confidence, as I explained yesterday, and I was right back up there. And then, you know,
and then the hernia happened.
Nothing worse than an accident at night, and you're thinking, and then you're worried about the daytime then, and just not having that worry anymore. It's amazing.
So, Steve, I don't know if you heard, but we had a fantastic session earlier where we talked about people's homeland and then Stomaland, the new place. And actually, this just reinforces that this is never one straight journey, and people can be going to their new normal, and then a problem happens, like the development of a hernia, and that takes you back 10 paces. And then you have to build up that confidence and that ability to interact again. Steve, I'm just going to remind you, it'll probably make you embarrassed, but I've been a stoma care nurse for a long time, and there's little that actually gives me goosebumps or makes me really, that's new to me or resonates. We are used to dealing with people that have complex stories, sad stories, family issues, terminal illnesses. It's rare that we get really touched by somebody. But Steve was talking to us in the UK, and he said something that I found absolutely amazing, that because of this feeling of being held, okay, first of all, he said that curves mean confidence to him, that the curve meant he felt confident. But because of this immediate confidence, 2 hours after he had put the first pouch on, he took his boys swimming. He didn't sit and watch. He went swimming 2 hours after using this new product. And it gave me goosebumps, because actually that's a phenomenal thing for a product, the correct product, correct size, to enable somebody to do, from going from not being frightened to go swimming because the pouch would leak and come off, to 2 hours later having the confidence to go swimming with his son. So, and I think that when you were talking to us, that was a big thing for you,
It
the
really
confidence
was.
to do it.
Yeah, I'd go swimming anyway, but I'd constantly check in.
Yeah.
You know, my little one, I wouldn't leave him in the pool because he's too young. So if I'm going out to change a bag, he's got to come with me. He's got to stop what he's doing. So it's massive. It's a real, you know, it's a real breakthrough for me.
Well, you can be dad.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be a dad.
Exactly. I haven't got to worry about that.
Yeah.
I normally was swimming anyway. I wouldn't eat 2 hours before, so there's less output, you know. But you constantly check in. Now, I don't need to anymore.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it in action for months on end.
And Steve, did you hear yesterday that he admitted? So our advice would be that you should change the product a maximum once every three days. You shouldn't wear it for longer than 3 days, because the output is going to begin to erode the adhesive around the stoma. But like many compliant Ostomy. Steve used to wear it for a week until his stomach care nurse nagged him and said, you know what, really, even though it's staying on, and it's fantastic it's staying on for a week, would you please change it every 3 days? So you now change it once every 3 days?
Yeah, without fail.
Okay. So, but I think there is a lesson to be learnt there, because although it's fantastic that Steve is confident enough and the product adhered so well to his hernia that he could leave it on for 7 days, as he was saying, there will be a degree of erosion of the adhesive after that length of time, and therefore we're at risk of another problem developing with his skin, that he will get some peristomal skin soreness, some chemical irritation, because the skin is beginning to be exposed because of the extreme wear time. So although it's fantastic, actually we don't want ostomists to wear it for a week, because we don't want them to then have a risk of getting some slight peristomal skin excoriation. So Steve, I know that with Rachel you've been quite vocal about the difference this product has made to you. We have nurses in the audience now that from different countries that will have the opportunity to use this product at some time in the next 9 months or a year. Not everybody has access to it now. But have you got a take-home message for them about, you know, when they have concave, how it might impact and how they might use it for their patients, for their Steves?
I think show them how it's done, the proper way to put it on, and then leave them to have a go on it, because you find your own way. You know, whether it's lying down, whether it's sitting on the edge of the bed, you know, however you flip it. Like originally when it was shown, I can't remember what his name. Rick flipped it out, took the peel off, and then it flips back. Well, I kind of cut that out completely. I just hold it.
Okay, shall I demonstrate? Because the theory behind that.
And they both work.
Yeah, they both. Is that, you know, it was a little difficult,
That's the stickiest one I've ever come across, you know.
Yeah. No, it's not. Okay, actually, the reason that you would do this to take the adhesive off, you don't have to, as Steve has shown, it does come off, is that actually the adhesive comes off much more easily when the product is flipped. And then once you take the adhesive off, it immediately goes back into the shape. So it just makes it slightly easier to remove the base plate, which is why the advice that you flip it, remove the adhesive, it automatically flips back for then to put on. Okay? But as Steve said, that's our advice, but actually individual Steves will find their way, their best way of doing it, whatever's easiest for Steve. But that would be our advice, as with the 3 days maximum for a one-piece product. Steve, we're nearly out of time. I just want to thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. I think you're incredibly brave, but also you've changed my practice and I've learned from you, and I'm sure the nurses in the audience have learned, and that's going to have a spiral impact on potentially people with an outward body shape around the world. So thank you very much indeed, and thank you.
Thank you.